Well, hi everybody. My name is Jim Burns, and right now we're going to try and figure out what happened to respect in our society, in our culture, in our schools, and at times in our home, right here in the Bully-Proof Classroom. This is the presentation on on topic 1. Disrespect is pervasive in our society. The solutions are already built into the course. The course hasn't been published yet, but we've already got those, and we're moving forward. So let's take a look, first of all, about this whole area of respect and what it means. Respect is having a high regard for the rights and privileges of another person, meaning they are almost more important than you. And you treat everyone the same way. And I mean from the custodian right up to the superintendent, or from the cleaning lady right up to the CEO. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect, even if they disrespect you. And I cover it in another slide or two. But the whole idea is, I'll give respect when I get respect. That doesn't wash, because what do you do if no one's giving respect? Are you supposed to fall right in? Two wrongs don't make a right. And certainly, if everyone is treating everyone with disrespect, it creates an environment in a school, in a company, in a culture that just doesn't seem to fit. It just doesn't seem right. There's always uncomfortability. You're wondering when you're going to get spoken to in a rude and discourteous way. You're always searching for responses. You're trying to figure out, do I love this guy or do I hate him? It's always a problem. And you start to hide at times to avoid certain people because you know that their attitude is just something that grates on you and you don't want to be in their presence. So, the idea here is we all give respect and we don't wait for it in return. Now, why do kids have such a problem with this? Well, let's keep it simple. In today's society, children have figured it out. They can do almost anything they want and get away with it because they're not held account. Well, I will say they get spoken to for it. But there is this thing that I use, it's called gain and loss, and if the loss isn't great enough, they're going to continue to do what they're doing, and that's being rude, discourteous, disrespectful, and irresponsible. And with parents, they're aware they can wear their parents out. If they put up a big enough stink, their parents are eventually going to give in and give them their way. So we have to be aware of this as kids come into school. They learn this at an early age. Now, the social and emotional window to the brain closes at the age of 5, which means any conclusions that kids have drawn up to that point, they're in there and they're going to grow and get bigger and bigger. See, the social and emotional logic that a kid ends up, or private logic that he ends up having, are like seeds at that point. But as this youngster grows older, those seeds start to grow. They become flowers, maybe. They become weeds at times. They become redwoods. And if the redwood is a problem, and they move forward in life, and they're having trouble in the area of respect, or in relationships, or holding a job, or whatever the case may be, you can trace it right back to when they were 5 and the conclusions that they drew. That's when life becomes unmanageable, and they have to have someone break the glass to go in and get those thoughts and rearrange them, and that's called therapy. So we're trying to help a child right now so that they don't have those problems going forward. You see, because we're partly responsible for this problem. And truly we are. There's been some faulty theories and philosophies that have come out of college that they sound good when a professor or an instructor is talking about it. Some of the theories that they've had, they just are permissive ideologies. They promoted the idea that children need to be respected more than they need to be compliant, and the ground is level. And by that I mean everyone has the same power. There is no authority. And if you've ever read Robert Bly's book, The Sibling Society, you know what I'm talking about. Sibling society means nobody's in charge. We all have this. We're all brothers and sisters here, and no one holds anyone accountable. To put it plainly, we're supposed to ask our kids if they want to do things rather than to tell them. And that starts to become dangerous. And I have seen this in malls with parents chasing after kids. I've seen it in other places as well, but in malls. Kids running in front of them, 2 and 3 years old. Mothers screaming, "Come here, come here," dad's after them. Kid turns around and waves and waddles off. And the parents say to this child, "Well, what do you want to do?" Well, does it matter what he wants to do? He's 3. Now, choices at a certain point in a child's life are good. Now, I have a triangle here, a reverse triangle, on the screen. And I use the tip of the triangle to represent freedom, and the top as well. So, the bottom of that triangle is very, very what? Narrow. The top is very broad. And when we start to give levels of freedom to a kid who's 2 years old, and we let him do more of what he wants to do than what he should do, and he throws temper tantrums, and he cries, and he whines, and we give into this, this is where the problem starts. Because we never set with that child healthy boundaries, and then we try to set the boundaries when they're between 10 and 13 years old. And we set those boundaries in anger. The kids are argumentative, and then around grades 9, they start losing their self-discipline. They start doing more of what they want. See, again, small things, if they're dealt with when they're supposed to be dealt with when kids are younger, will not grow into these larger things. Because by the time this kid hits his teenage years, we're trying to restrain him because we're working out of the tip of the triangle now. And you can't restrain a teenager. It's far easier to restrain a younger child, but we've given that younger child all the freedom. Now we're trying to restrain this child who might be 16, 17, 18 years old. It does not work. We have to give directives when kids are younger. As they become more compliant, we start to build a relationship with them, and that is the key to the foundation of character. Between the ages of birth to the ages of 7 or 8, kids work in the tip of the triangle. They show compliance, and the more responsible they are and the more compliant they are, the greater the freedom. And once they understand authority and who's in charge, we can give them more freedom because trust develops. We start to praise more. We build more positive statements into their emotional bank account. We develop a relationship with this child. And it's not where we're struggling with a teenager at the bottom of the triangle. We already had our struggle at the tip of the triangle with this kid that was 2, 3, 4, 5. We already had the struggle. Here we didn't have any struggle. We gave in to him. At the bottom of the triangle here, the struggles are over. We have a relationship with this young adult now, and life is far more manageable. So I'm going to flash back to this one again, freedom, and it absolutely makes perfect sense. Too much freedom when kids are younger. Here you restrict the freedom, you give all the freedom to them when they're teenagers. And this is what will work, my friends. This is what will work. This is where we've lost the respect. This is what's happened to this is what's happened to respect. Because we've spent too much time here. By the time the kid becomes a teenager, he doesn't respect us. Here, we earn the respect at the top, and at the bottom, we have a relationship. Giving directives, telling a kid what to do, produces security. But asking questions creates confusion. See that? You tell him what to do, there's no way out. You ask him what to do, he makes his own choices. And sometimes the little brains of these kids, they realistically don't have enough knowledge built in there yet to allow them to understand how to make a correct choice. You can come to the dinner table, or you can sit out. You choose. Now, what's the consequence for sitting away from the dinner table if this kid is 4 or 5 years old? There is only one answer. You come to the dinner table. And if he doesn't come, there's got to be a consequence. Once they're given too many choices that they don't like, the struggles will begin. Let's back up just a bit here. Too many questions create confusion. Directives produce security. And believe it or not, these kids want somebody in charge. They want somebody in charge. Did you know that if you have power struggles in your classroom, the rest of the class might think it's funny if you're always having a power struggle with one of the students? But the bottom line, they're nervous because they're waiting for the day that you lose the struggle. Because they certainly don't want who you're having that struggle with in charge or running the class. Because then they're not going to be sure how they're going to be treated. Every kid wants someone in charge to help them make correct decisions and choices when they're younger. Understand the keys to the foundation of character. Understand what choice could do if in fact you've given a child too many freedoms. And this is all occurring based upon some of the theories and philosophies that have come out of our colleges. And yes, we are in the twilight zone and partly responsible. And what happened? It's very basic. Keep it simple, stupid. They know they can get away with it, and they know if they put up a big enough stink that the parents are going to give in. There's your definition. Having a high regard for the rights and privileges of another person. There, my friends, is what happened to respect and how it happened. And you could read a whole lot more about this in a book that I wrote called The New 3 R's in Education: Respect, Responsibility, and Relationships. Sometimes we may focus too much on academics and not enough on respect and responsibility. And I think that we have to begin to put more time in with our character ed programs, not making them so ceremonious, where everyone gets the certificate, everyone gets an award at the end of the month for exhibiting a certain character quality. Awards are given to those who deserve it. And if kids don't show this quality, they need to be taught what they're doing wrong and how they then can begin to walk down the path of lifelong success. And when you think about it, there's three things that have to be developed in all children: respect, responsibility, and everybody's got to be compliant at some point. Respect is people, responsibility is things or a task, and compliance is generic to society. This concludes this presentation. Excuse me. This is the presentation on respect. You'll find the solutions in hour 1 of the course. Take a look at it, put some feet to it for yourself, discuss it with others if you have the opportunity, either your colleagues or possibly with family members. Okay, we'll be moving along. We'll be getting to section 3. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, everybody.